Hey everyone, this is Nick. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is all about learning valuable lessons and all about keeping an open mind. So what do I mean by that? Well, as you can see, the fragrance that I'm going to review today is actually Layton by Parfums de Marly. And you may be wondering, why Layton? After all, it's been talked about so much. It's been around for a while, and it's one that generally everyone who is into more of the niche fragrances really enjoy wearing. And yeah, I get that. But the reason that I wanted to do this review today was because Layton actually is a pretty interesting story for me as far as my fragrance journey goes. So let me explain that. So about a year ago, when I was getting really heavily into collecting and all of that, um, I had started joining some of the Facebook groups, and one of the fragrances that was getting really hyped and talked about quite a bit was Layton. And I've always considered myself to be an open-minded person, and I really wanted to get into more of the niche fragrances, some of these indie houses and things, and just expose myself to new things in general. Well, I went and got a bunch of samples from like Lucky Scent, Split Scent, somewhere like that. I don't remember now, but one of the samples happened to be Layton. And when I smelled it for the first time, I'm like, my God, what is everybody talking about? This is awful. Why would anybody want to smell like this? I tested it on a strip, and I think I might have tested it on skin at the time. I don't remember because it has been a while ago, and I tested it along with a lot of other fragrances. But that was my initial reaction to it. I really got this like really strong medicinal like hospital smell that in reading like reviews later on, I kind of realized what I was smelling, and it was like kind of like a Vicks like menthol type smell. And again, I was wondering, why would anybody want to smell like that? And it was just something that I guess at the time I just could not appreciate. And it got so bad that I was a little vocal in some of the Facebook groups. I even like did like a little cartoon, just talking about how bad it was. And so a buddy and I were getting together like a couple of weeks ago, and we had ordered some samples that we were going to sit down and try together. Well, right after I had gotten those samples, Leighton being one of them, I kind of passed them on to him because I kind of wanted his take on, what he thought of Leighton. Was it as bad as I was thinking it was? And he tested it out and everything, and he said it really wasn't his cup of tea. He really didn't like it. So I felt like I was kind of justified in my initial impressions, at least. So anyway, when he comes over that night, he brings back the box that I had given him originally of all these samples, and I told him, I was like, I said, I've come quite a far distance, quite a ways in this journey, and I'm kind of interested to see, going back and testing some of these fragrances now, if I feel differently about them. So one of the ones that I pulled out was Layton, and so again, I sprayed it on a tester strip, and I'm like, this isn't as bad as I remember it being. In fact, this is actually really good. I sprayed it on my skin, and I had it on for a couple of hours, and I just kept sniffing it. And folks, it turns out I am in love with this scent. All the things that I didn't like about it initially, I really love about it now. And it's just, to me, it's the weirdest thing. I can't account for it other than the fact that I guess it is true that over a period of time, when you expose yourself to all of these different types of fragrances, that your nose does truly mature and you are able to appreciate things that you didn't appreciate at one time. And yeah, I guess that's what's happened with Layton. And so right after that, I like immediately bought or purchased a bottle, and it just showed up yesterday. So that's the fragrance that I'm making reference to in my last video. So I kind of wanted to share that with you because of the fact that this really does happen. Because I mean, I know because it happened to me. And it really taught me that even though I thought that I had an open mind about things and I was open to exploring new things, I guess I wasn't as much as I thought I was. And, it truly does take time to develop an appreciation for some of this. I mean, fragrance to me has become like an art form. And I guess we were talking about this in one of the Facebook groups the other day. One of the bloggers, he writes articles, John Harper. You know, he had asked a question, and we were kind of having this whole conversation about that type of thing. And that was one of my observations: the fact that when you do look at fragrances as being an art form, you do tend to keep more of an open mind about things. And yeah, and a lot of it's just time. A lot of it's just experience with it too. So anyway, that's my story. And I'm a little bit embarrassed because of how vocal I was about how terrible I thought Layton was, and it was a horrible fragrance. Why would anybody like it? So I'm a little embarrassed about that, but we all make mistakes, right? And at least I'm owning up to it. So anyway, so let's get down to the fragrance. So again, Parfums de Marly it's a house that is very well known by this point. And up until I received this bottle, I had never had any experience with this brand like in store. I mean, there's not really any place around where I live that sells this, so it's not possible to go in and pick up the bottle and test them all out. So in just looking at pictures of the bottle, I had a very different impression of what these bottles were going to be. I mean, to me, they always looked cheap and plastic. But when I took this out of the box and in hand, realized how heavy this thing is, and the fact that it's not plastic, even the cap, I can barely get the cap off. It's that tight, but the cap itself is like super heavy. So, the presentation alone, I had to change my mind about that, because it's pretty impressive. Even the design, I wasn't too crazy about that either, but I've actually grown an appreciation of that too. So I'm changing here, guys. I don't know what accounts for it, but yeah, the smell. So in the beginning, yeah, it was hard for me to get past that menthol, the Vicks vapor rub kind of smell. And there was also something in it too that was a little plasticky. I don't know if that is exactly the right way to describe it. That's the best way I can describe it at this moment in time. But it was just, I guess it was just so weird to me back then. It was just something that I really had never smelled or been exposed to. And I guess, it was very jolting. Because, I smell it now and I still smell all of those same elements. But yet, it has a very different effect on me now. To me now, this is a gorgeous fragrance. And especially since I've had the chance to wear this on skin too, because like I said, that night that we were doing the sampling, I did spray it on, and so I had it on, and I could still smell it on my hand when I got up the next morning. But it was just, I think it does really well on my skin too. So I mean that makes a difference. But yeah, I mean the opening, is a little on the weird side. I mean, again, it's something that I can now appreciate. But I tell you, the magic with this comes in truly with the drawdown. I mean, the drawdown on this is just it's so amazing. And I think that's really what did it for me. That's what won me over was just giving it a chance and allowing it to dry on my skin, and just going back time after time, just sniffing it. And but yeah, I mean, I'm a true believer now. All right, so let's talk about the note composition. So you have in Layton vanilla, you have apple, mandarin orange, cardamom, um, sandalwood, guaiac wood. You've got some florals like violet, jasmine, geranium, and you've got some pepper in there as well. What I get for the most part is a lot of the vanilla. I do get a lot of fruit. I do detect, just a little bit of the floral. I mean, I think you get a little bit more of that when it starts drying down, because I think that, along with the vanilla, it really contributes to that sweetness. Because that was one thing that I did notice. The longer this set on my skin, the sweeter it seemed to get. And so it kind of moves out of that, because I mean, even right now, I'm still really getting that menthol, plasticky type vibe. But the longer that it sits on your skin, or the longer that it sits on paper, even that kind of diminishes a little bit, and you do end up with just this very sweet vanillic type of fragrance. But you've got all of that like kind of working in the background. You've got some spices there. You've got some florals. You've got some fruits, and they just all kind of come together and just make this a really, really, it's very well rounded, I think. And I could see this being one that you would reserve for special occasions. Although I don't think that I'm going to be able to do that, because I have grown to love it so much that I feel like that I'm going to be reaching for this, for just any given excuse, just to wear it. But that's the smell that it has. It smells like a special occasion type fragrance. Now I hear this gets a lot of compliments. That remains to be seen, because I really haven't worn this around anyone really. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. But longevity too. I really want to be able to give this a good wearing. Not just on my hand or anything. Like I said, I sprayed it on that evening, and um, when I woke up the next morning, I could still smell it distinctly on my hand. So, I mean, that's a good sign in itself. Other than that, I mean, I've heard that the performance on this is pretty decent, and I truly hope that it is. I hope it's one that I can spray on and will be able to enjoy for the majority of the day. But anyway, so that's the scent itself, and I'm sure by this point, if you're watching this video, you probably already have tried Layton. Have you? Well, if you have, give me your impressions. Did you have a hard time with it in the beginning? Or was it one that you immediately fell in love with? That is what is so mind-blowing to me, is just, how you can change like that. I would never have expected it in a million years. And for me now to have to go back and eat my words, well, it's not pleasant. But hey, I've got a beautiful new fragrance in my collection, and I'm happy about that. So, Layton, if you haven't tried it, give it a try. And give it some time. I've had to say that, about some of the fragrances in my collection. Um, some of them just aren't that easy to like, and this might be one of them for you. But don't give up. Go back and revisit it a couple of times. I think you might be surprised at the outcome. Anyway, that will do it for this video. I hope that you have enjoyed my embarrassing story here, but at the same time, you can congratulate me for finally coming around, and congratulate me on having this beautiful fragrance and bottle in my collection now. So anyway, until the next time, we'll see you later.